What's up, guys? Welcome to The Marketing Grind, a marketing show fueled by caffeine. I'm Gary. I'm here with my brother, Mack.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, so we wanted to put this show together. We're both digital marketers. We're both coffee enthusiasts, and we thought might as well blend the two together and put something out there. I've been personally wanting to create video content for a while. I've been dabbling around it, but seeing guys like Gary Vee, who is always prolific on the video content, but also guys like Chris Brogan, who started a show during the pandemic, daily show, Jay Kunzo, who's doing some cool stuff with podcasting and video and live streaming. Thought, time to get off our asses and do something of our own,
Yeah, there's no better time than now, and with the tools to do so at our disposal, why not? I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So we're going to kick things off with the coffee. Every episode, we're going to start things off with some coffee. So I got my drink. You got yours?
Yes, I do.
All right. What do you got? What are you drinking?
Well, I'm kind of ashamed to say, because I'm waiting for some fresh new beans to come in the mail, that I had to go with the convenience route and pop in a Keurig pod. So this is Green Mountain Coffee Roasters breakfast blend, light roast to keep that caffeine level high, and just drinking it black because I need it to taste like coffee. But hopefully next week I'll have something much better.
Yeah, no shame in that. There's always a spot for quick and convenient, but decent tasting coffee.
Yeah, well, I know that you probably have something much better than what I'm drinking, so I like to hear about that one.
Yeah, so I am basically exclusively drinking cold brew these days, and I subscribe to a service called Atlas Coffee Company, and they send me beans once a month, a different type of bean from a different country, different roast profile. So this month I am drinking a bean from Indonesia. It is a medium roast, and on the card that comes with the coffee, the tasting profile is red wine, plums, and chocolate. So interesting combination, and let's see how true to form this coffee is. Yeah, so
right. What do we got?
It's definitely a little bit more easygoing than a lot of the coffee that I typically drink. Not as bold and roasty and chocolatey. It's got a nice kind of mellow chocolate, like a milk chocolate, as well as like a little bit of like berry, that red wine flavor profile that balances that out. So really smooth, really easy drinking. I think a nice break from the big bold roast that I typically go for.
So dare I say like a chocolate covered cherry in a way?
I think if you close your eyes long enough and sit in the dark by yourself sipping this coffee, you can get there.
Well, that sounds like my cup of tea too, so enjoy it.
Yeah. As we're sipping on these brews, typically we're going to dive into a digital marketing topic that we're kind of working on. I know me personally, I've been working in digital marketing for a while, constantly learning and improving. That's kind of a big thing for anybody in digital marketing. But I also have my own agency, and I'm kind of in the process of launching a couple businesses, tackling different markets and channels and things that are brand new to me. So I'm constantly like working on new problems and things like that. And I know you've, in the past several years, have switched markets completely, kind of switched roles, and right now you're kind of going through a transitional period. So we're both kind of like working on different digital marketing problems, and so every week we'll kind of dive into one of those. But to kick things off for episode 1, I wanted to maybe kind of get a baseline of like where each of us is coming from, mindset wise, philosophy wise, from a marketing perspective, and like how our individual journeys have shaped that. So why don't you kick it off? Talk a little bit about like your career in marketing and kind of where it's led you to today.
Yeah, so it really kicked off in about 2011. Even a little bit before that, I started a coffee blog that really just kind of taught me the basics of just writing content and putting it out there. Barista Joe, that's right. I'm trying to relaunch that as well because it kind of went on the back burner and got some cobwebs on it. So I got to dust those off and revive. But really enjoyed the writing process. That was something that I was really passionate about before that, and I thought, what better way to do it in blog format, which was getting popular around that time. And then shortly after that, joined a LA-based startup called Go to My Apartment it was a digital social shop that serviced apartment communities, partnered with developers, and whether they were brand new apartments or already existing, just kind of did the social media marketing, content marketing, And I was really employee number one there. So I was kind of forced to kind of cover a lot of bases and forced to manage a lot of accounts there. So it kind of taught me, how to be efficient with the different tools that were available at that specific time. And then as that organization grew and I had a team under me and all that, the services grew. So that again forced me to kind of learn new things. Paid social started becoming a big thing in the years shortly after I joined that. Go to my apartment, working with paid search specialists to ensure that we were bidding on the right keywords and doing everything we needed to do there. And really project management, I learned there as well. After that, I kind of stayed in the real estate game and went in-house and worked at a company that no longer exists anymore called Mercer Vine. Ultra luxury homes was what they were selling. And so it was a completely different ball game on how to do digital marketing for an organization like that, where, you're not selling a home through a Facebook ad. You have to kind of develop a strategy and help get people to go to open houses and things like that. What was kind of cool there was being a consultant for the agents of that brokerage. So I managed basically the brand channels, but served as a consultant to help individual agents, manage their own personal brands and get an understanding of what they should be doing for content outside of what I was doing for the organization. So that was really fun to kind of branch out and kind of work with people on an individual basis there. And then the next thing after that was a completely different shift where I joined a SaaS company, software as a service company called Flowcast, which made accounting software. So completely different shift from real estate, and it was all B2B, and that was something that I had never done before. And I was just kind of plugged into an existing marketing team as the sole digital marketer. And I was very much a generalist there, but I was tasked with covering a lot of different things, managing the website. So I had to kind of be a little bit more informed on how those things are built and the different tools that we can incorporate into building interactive tools on the site, managing content marketing and working with a writer on the team there, managing paid search, doing paid social, and just kind of overall owning all the digital marketing efforts there. Prior to that, the approach that I was trying to take at Flowcast, we were deploying with Hopped LA, which is our craft beer media shop, where we were doing shows and podcasts and content and all that was very important to what we were doing there. And so I was trying to incorporate that into the Flowcast strategy. And so it's kind of a completely different take on what I think B2B SaaS companies were deploying from a digital marketing perspective. And so it was very much a learning experience of how to do that when you're selling a piece of software that was, tens of thousands of dollars per year. It's not very transactional, immediately. So it's very much a long game and a brand awareness play that I was trying to kind of implement there. And yeah, so just done a lot, very much a generalist in that respect. And I love content. And I think that's an important part of, the experience. Excited to kind of take on the next thing after Flowcast and kind of incorporate a lot of what I learned along the way. So
nice. Yeah. For anyone listening and intrigued at this point, this man right here is a free agent. He is listening to any interesting offers.
That's correct.
That content heavy digital marketing approach that you and I kind of believe in, like, what can that do for my business in 2020?
Yeah. I'll kind of steal this from Jay Kunzo a little bit, where a lot of people are so focused on like just getting the initial lead in or getting that first response, but you really want people to come back for more. And so his line is, good marketing is not getting people to show up, it's getting people to stay. And I think creating interesting, compelling, educational and entertaining content is going to help a brand do that in the long run and get repeat buyers and get people to be just, very interested in the brand as a whole. Even if they buy things once, they can still follow because they love the content.
Yeah.
But what about you? I mean, you're the older one here, so you definitely have much more experience in the digital marketing space. And really a lot of what I've learned along the way, especially from an SEO perspective, which was your initial specialty, I learned from you. So I want to kind of go through your journey as well. It kind of started back in San Diego.
Yeah, it did. It started back in San Diego probably about 11 or 12 years ago now. It started in SEO, like you said. I started working with a couple different SEO agencies. So a lot of my expertise and a lot of my ways of thinking are heavily informed by SEO. And if anyone watching this knows anything about SEO, 12 years ago, it SEO is very different back then to how it is today. So it was definitely, I think, a narrow perspective in which to view digital marketing. And I learned that over time. Luckily, I was a part of a shop, an agency down there that did a little bit more than SEO, kind of incorporated content and social into the SEO strategy, which is kind of what needs to be done. Like SEO is really the overlap, the culmination of really good content, social, PR, like really good digital marketing as a whole ends up being strong SEO. So my background really focuses on really good digital marketing and how to optimize that for SEO. So after I worked at these SEO agencies for several years, I moved back up to LA and I got a job with a PR agency. And that was kind of the wake-up call for me, where I really understood how important content was, how important social was in the whole grand scheme of things, and really how narrow my focus on SEO had been. And then after branching off on my own and building out my own consultancy and being able to have my hands in more aspects of a business's marketing efforts, I kind of started getting a little bit more well-rounded after seeing all of that. That kind of led to Hopped LA, starting that back in 2014 when it was just the kernel of an idea and really not very big of an idea. This was an email only newsletter. That was the only channel that it was planned for, and then it turned into a social play, and it's turned into a very, very multi-channel, like a content heavy approach. That's kind of started my journey into like really heavy content, audience and community building. And through all that time, being less focused on search and organic searches as my first priority and how I looked at what to do for marketing. And that became more of like a foundational, like background aspect. So now like Hopped LA and some of the sites that I run, they get great traffic from search, but it's not something that I'm working on day in, day out. Like it all comes back to content and social amplification. Like that's really the big thing. The email newsletter is really important there too. So it's like those things kind of came together and it kind of opened my eyes as to where things were heading in the digital web. The way that SEO is done these days is completely different. And link building and things like that. It's just like, if you're focused on that only, it gets very difficult. But if you can work on content, if you can work on advertising, you can work on community building, like the SEO part, like just comes along for the ride. So that's kind of been my journey.
I think being consistent with that too, right? People like start these different ventures and it's like they either peter out because it's like they're not seeing the immediate ROI, or they're just like they're publishing once a week or whatever. Like it's you got to be consistent with it all in order to kind of build that community and build these channels up to be in a spot where you feel good about it and you have people following you.
Yeah, consistency is the key. There's so much content out there that like, it's not about just showing up and putting stuff out there. It's doing so on a consistent basis. And I think we'll get into this like really deeply on a future episode, but like, that's why I'm such a proponent of like serialized content, like shows, because it has consistency built into the very core of that element. So it's not just about like, all right, we need to be consistent. Let's create a content calendar. Like it goes bigger than that. Like create content ideas that have to be executed on every week or every month or whatever, so that people know when to expect it and they have something to show up for. And then it makes it so much easier for you. So yeah, I think consistency has become like, I don't want to say the hidden gem or like the secret sauce, but like it kind of is, because I think a lot of people overlook that aspect still.
Yeah, and I think that to your point about the content calendar, that still works to an extent, but the consistency aspect of creating like what we're doing here, like this little show, we can start brainstorming other topics. Like things branch out from like your initial brainstorm, and with social media being incorporated into the distribution aspect, you start having like content built out like for all these different channels, easy content to produce, from like your one large piece. So if you can stay consistent on the one bigger piece, then you have consistency across all your other channels too.
Yeah. I mean, that concept is like what I'm building my future work around. So kind of bringing us to like today, I'm still running my digital marketing consultancy, High Rise, which does a lot of SEO work, but does everything really, anything digital. But I'm building out a advertising and content focused agency for luxury real estate, residential real estate, combining some of that background. Oh, I completely glossed over go to my apartment when I was talking about my history. I don't know why. But yeah, I have a background in real estate from before I started in marketing. I worked a lot in real estate there at Go to My Apartment, and that's something I'm very passionate about. So my new thing is really taking content advertising for the luxury residential real estate space. And my content philosophy and my content strategy is all show based. Like, I'm not creating any content unless it's part of a show that can be done on a regular, consistent basis. I'm not interested in, let's do this one video and put it out there and then maybe we'll do another one day. I'm all about like, let's start something that like we can come back to week after week. So yeah, that's kind of like where my journey has taken me today, is that serialized content, doing social advertising right for your distribution, having a lot of that. You were talking about that lead generation, demand generation stuff, like having that running at the same time, because that's going to fuel your actual conversion rate. Like, that stuff you need to have sales, CRM, all that stuff baked in. But like for, that kind of top half of the funnel, the awareness, the interest, the decision-making side of things, like that's all going to be content based. And like, I have a ton to talk about when it comes to that, but that's really where I'm really excited.
Yeah. And that was something that I, was getting really into at my last gig at Flowcast, because as a growth stage company, venture capital funded, like the numbers mean everything to the board, and they want to see marketing source opportunities and those things being, closed won opportunities. And so that was kind of an interesting kind of pivot that I needed to make, in a sense of, it's not just paid search bringing in, the leads, because that we were bringing in a ton of leads via paid search, but were they sales qualified leads? At the end of the day, a lot of them weren't. And so it was about pivoting into like, all right, well, what are we not doing as a whole? And for Flowcast, like they weren't doing any sort of like real strong content based stuff. And my philosophy was always like, either get back in front of people over and over and over again until they decide they want to buy. And the way to do that is to kind of just create really compelling content, whether it's serialized like a show, like we started a podcast there. And I was trying to really start up like in-house video production and things like that, just to kind of get it out there, get the name out there, create something that was interesting for people. We were even trying to develop an accounting sitcom, we can get into that I know we want to talk about like, how does developing a show really mean for a brand? But like outside the box stuff like that, where you're just creating entertainment that's funny, educational, whatever. It doesn't have to be lead gen driven, but as you said, like you kind of need to have those channels running as well, just to have a holistic, marketing sphere. But content was something that I was really trying to drive over there.
Yeah, I think that all represents that big opportunity of like people looking at content and social as like brand awareness plays, but like bringing someone from awareness to like a marketing qualified lead or a marketing qualified opportunity, like that huge spectrum, like so much can go on in there. And I think that it's not just about being out there and getting your name out there and doing things consistency. It's what you're doing in those moments. And really what that opportunity is like, I mean, this word has a negative connotation at least I think so whenever I say it, but it really comes down to like, it's your propaganda. It's like your brand's philosophy. It's what you believe in, what you want your customers to believe. Like you want, when the customer says, I'm ready to work with you, you want them beating down the door like, I'm bought in. I understand where you guys are coming from, and I want to be a part of that too. Like, you guys are exactly what I'm looking for. that doesn't happen magically in an instant. Like that happens over time, and that's where your content and the way you distribute that content takes someone from, hey, who is this company? I never heard of them, to, man, what they're doing is really cool. Like no one else is doing this. And it takes multiple touch points, like multiple types of content. It's just time, you know? So I think that's like really what I'm really excited about, is like that whole journey right there before they get to like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like, you know, that's all important. Yeah. I love that too. But like, I'm really super excited about like that journey from like awareness to like making that decision.
Yeah, because timing's everything at the end of the day. Like not everyone's ready for, you know, X piece of content. They need, you know, the Y piece of content, or, you know, vice versa, where it's like, where are they in that funnel? Where are they in that awareness funnel, to where you can start giving them content that is gonna lead them to finally knock on that door and say, I'm in, you know, like, what do I need to do to get this for my business? And so I think that's kind of overlooked sometimes, where they're just like, I just have this one piece of content, I'm gonna give it to everybody. And that's just not the right way to do it. You know, you got to develop different pieces of content for different types of audiences.
Right. And like you said, it's not about someone that just shows up. It's about them staying and what occurs while they stay. You know, the words that I tend to kind of like jump out to me are like resonance and connection, like nurturing relationship. You know, like those are the things that like I'm really excited about what content marketing and social advertising can do, and community building and things like that in that arena. And I think I think it's somewhat rare still, even though like, you know, the concept isn't new. I think in terms of execution, I'm not seeing a lot of people actually doing it right. And I think also like if you apply it to different industries, like where I'm focusing on luxury real estate, residential real estate, like a lot of these agents are not doing it at all. So that's where I'm really excited about giving them the tools. And then I think for you, like working in B2B software, like there's some companies that are great models for what you're talking about. And I think from what it seems like the way that you think, but by far the majority is, like you said, lead driven, cost per acquisition, lowest possible common denominator type of stuff.
Yeah, like what's my ROI on all, you know, on these specific things in order to like, yeah, deliver those KPIs to the board. Yeah. And then the board decides what's important at the end of the day. It kind of sucks when you're like, when you're kind of had the philosophy that I do. We're like, sometimes you just can't like put that measurement on like what we're doing here, because this is a long-term thing. And so sometimes you're working with short-term type people, you know, you got to educate a little bit better, or you just don't mesh. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge. That's like, anyone who's getting into this that like thinks it's going to be easy, you know, has another thing coming. So that's the challenge, that like, if you're getting into this type of marketing, then like you got to change your mindset to be excited about that challenge and being creative and how you figure out ways to like draw the line between ROI on content and figuring out like, what does this whole thing mean in the long run?
Yeah.
As much as creative plays a part in it. Like I remember Jay Akunzo was talking a while back, like when he was first starting the Unthinkable stuff. Like I remember how like averse he was to analytics. Not that they didn't play a part, but that like as a creative, like you should ignore the analytics and just focus on creating. And while I understand his point and get the value, like analytics is such an important piece of the puzzle, not just in guiding what you create and how you create it, but like in making sure you get the resources that you need to keep creating it.
I didn't want to come off like there is no ROI measurement in these things. Like there definitely is, but I think you may have said it, like you just kind of have to get creative on what that measurement is, so that it's easily, you know, understandable from the top down. Like, you know, besides just website traffic, like there's more you can kind of incorporate into what that ROI can be. So it's just a matter of getting creative on what that is and making sure it's understood across the organization.
Well, we've danced around a lot of different topics that like I know we have on our list of shows to do roll out over the next month. Yeah, like I'm excited about it. So, we touched on a bunch of stuff that I'm itching to dive deeper into, and we're not going to do it on this show. But yeah, I think that's it for this one. Why don't we wrap it up, and then we'll make sure to go deeper on some of these things in some of our future episodes. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it was kind of a little hard to not do so today as we're getting into stuff. I just wanted to be like, well, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. But I don't want to take away from our deeper dives. So just excited to kind of get this introduction out there and kind of give people a little bit of a taste of what our philosophies are and how we think. And hopefully we can be of value to some people that want to learn more.
Yeah, I'm stoked to do it. I knew that we were on the same page from a marketing philosophy standpoint, but I wasn't sure how much on the same page we were. It feels like there's a lot of overlap in the way that we both think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which should make it for an interesting shows, hopefully. But sometimes it'll be good to battle on something too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done the real estate thing myself, so maybe we tend to agree on a lot of stuff, but yeah, I'm sure we'll have some differences of opinions on different things.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes up.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Cheers.